Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Father Harahan, the pastor at St. Rose of Lima. It's good to be back with you again and to have the chance to speak and reflect and pray with you for a little while. Recently, Pope Francis spoke about an incident with Jesus and his disciples. The incident took place while they were at sea in a boat. Here is the scripture passage from Mark's Gospel relating what happened. On that day, as evening drew on, he said to them, "Let us cross to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took with them in the boat just as he was, and other boats were with him. A violent squall came up, and waves were breaking over the boat, so that it was already filling up. Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. They woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Quiet, be still." The wind ceased and there was great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith?" They were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this whom even the wind and the sea obey?" What a powerful and descriptive incident we just heard from Mark's Gospel. Imagine the disciples in the boat with the storm beginning to emerge. Jesus is sleeping, and all of a sudden, there's water and wind coming into the boat. The disciples are terribly frightened. They wake Jesus up, and they ask Jesus a question, "Do you not care that we are perishing?" Almost as if to tell Jesus, "Don't you understand that our lives are at risk, and you're not up taking care of us?" Jesus very quietly responds, "Why are you terrified?" For him, it was about faith. And the disciples were encouraged by the words of Jesus, and they were reminded by him of the need to strengthen their faith and to draw faith from the nearness of Jesus to them. Pope Francis used that image this week in order to help us understand where we are today, where our lives are. What do we do with the fear that we carry? What do we do with the conditions that we're living in, and how do we make sense out of such things that we can't even understand? The numbers that we hear every day, the routines that we're called to practice, the reality of social distance and separation, the upsetting of our routines and our normal way of life. Pope Francis compared all of that to the storm that the disciples faced at sea. And it's almost as if we're in the boat, and now the waters are churning up, and evening is setting in, darkness is coming, and we're wondering, where is Jesus? Does he care? Does any of this matter to him? And why doesn't Jesus speak to us and give us more direction? The disciples were overtaken by the wind and the sea, and we find ourselves overtaken by the turbulence of the pandemic. Jesus, do you not care that we are perishing? Out of fear and discouragement, the disciples come to Jesus. And out of fear and discouragement, we may find ourselves today asking the same question. Is Jesus here? Where is he, and will he come to encourage us and build us up? We know that our lives are different today than even a few weeks ago. Our habits, our routines, our priorities, our projects, the things we do and the things we care about, these have all been undermined by a storm that we did not expect and did not plan on. And in our fear, we wonder, where is Jesus? We also may think about our inability to deal with and respond adequately to our own current conditions. Sometimes we become accustomed to rely on our own power, our own achievements, our own accomplishments. We may even think that we can do anything. We have the power to achieve anything. But times like this remind us that there is a greater power beyond us upon which we depend. A storm of distance and stillness robs us of our confidence and takes away our security. But we know that there is something more. We find ourselves like the disciples in the boat, knowing that there is someone to go to. Knowing that Jesus is there, we ask, please come. Please come and listen and be a part of what is happening to us. So Jesus is with us as he was with the disciples. He is in the boat, and we are not alone. The disciples' question is very telling. Do you not care that we are perishing? Do you not care about us? And Jesus says simply, and you do not yet have faith? Don't you know that I am with you? Don't you know that if I am here, you will never be alone? What is it that Jesus is asking of us today? What challenges is Jesus putting before us to grow our faith as he challenged the disciples to grow in theirs? Three things, I believe. And the first thing is that Jesus is calling us to believe that he loves us. He's calling us to renew within ourselves a sense that, yes, he does love us. He is with us. He does not leave us alone. He is present, and we are called to find ways to keep this before us. Yes, there are days of turbulent waters and even social distress, but in these moments and at these times and circumstances, Jesus comes and reminds us, I am here. I am in the midst of this storm. I am with you. And he challenges us to find faith because of his encouragement and because of his presence. Maybe it's by reading the Bible or praying together as a family, saying the blessing of food before meals, or doing an act of kindness or patience towards someone. Whatever it might be, our first responsibility, responding to Jesus, is to believe that he loves us and to believe that he is with us. I believe, secondly, that Jesus is asking us to go one step further. Jesus is also asking us not just to recognize him for ourselves, but to recognize his presence in other people, in the lives of those around us. Being with our families and being cooped up in the same house with the same people day after day can be a challenge. It can be difficult. And a lot of us long for a broader range of commitments and friendships to start happening again. We can do that by social media, but we know it's really not the same. We want to go out with our friends and be with people we love. But we are cooped up, and we sometimes find how difficult it can be in the circumstances where we find ourselves to find ways of living that are less stressful and more loving and peaceful toward other people. Sometimes we have a lot of schoolwork to do. We have to catch up on bills. We're asked to share computers. We have different priorities, and our habits are different, and our personalities are so different. In all of that, we're still called to recognize that as Jesus is with us, he wants us to look hard and see that he's also with others. Jesus is present in the life of every other person. He is present to each one of us and poses the question for us, can you see me in one another? Can you not only know that I am here, but can you see me around you, especially in the lives of other people? And thirdly, I think Jesus is asking us to echo in our own lives his wisdom, his teaching, and his priorities. Jesus is asking us to choose what is important, to make choices in our lives that are wise and right choices, to let go of things that are unimportant or superficial, to incorporate the commitment of self-denial of courageous people, the saints, people we know in our own lives. Jesus is asking us to incorporate into our own lives the habits and the character of people we love and admire, those people who have given their lives or worked hard that others might be treated with more justice and love and compassion. Maybe healthcare workers or volunteers, cleaners and caregivers, first responders, whoever it might be. Jesus is asking us to incorporate into our lives the habits and the character of his teaching and the good example and the witness of those around us who show us how to live and what it means to put ourselves at the service of others. We focus our attention in the gospel story today on what is truly valuable and noble. As Jesus puts the question to us, do you not yet have faith? He wants us to come not only to say, yes, we believe, but to say, yes, I do, and I believe. I do, as Jesus teaches. I do, as Jesus asks. And so the question for ourselves today is, in what ways do I challenge myself to be Jesus' witness, and disciple? In what ways am I a disciple? And in what ways can I make more Jesus present so that in my own heart and in the lives of those around me, his presence will be more fully known? We know that for us, the evening of stillness and distance will be with us for a while. The stillness, the distance, the social disturbance, the challenge and the difficulties of trying to get through these very unnormal days and these very odd routines. We know that we have a lot before us and days and weeks to go. But for mothers and fathers and grandparents and teachers, for children, for the homebound, for doctors and nurses, for the elderly, the sick, the poor, and the hungry, for everyone, the storm of this turbulence surrounds us. But what surrounds us more is the power and the grace of Jesus himself. The storm momentarily might hinder us from seeing the light of Jesus coming toward us and being with us and sitting next to us in the boat. But he is there nonetheless. He is there that we might believe. He is there that we might see him in others. He is there so that we might bring him to others and embody within ourselves the living presence of the one who is here to save us. Jesus comes to us so that we might live and live fully. Our biggest need and our deepest desire is to be connected. So many people seem to say that these days. I just want to feel connected again, because being in the social distance world doesn't help us with that. But we know that there will be a time when, as this is broken, we will be able to enjoy what it means to relate and to be present to one another personally and closely again. But for now, our biggest need and our deepest desire is to recognize what does connect us, what doesn't leave us even though we find ourselves socially distant. What doesn't leave us is our common resistance to anything that takes us away from being loved by the one whose love will save us, whose life comes to bring us compassion and peace. To believe in Jesus, to see him in others, to live out his life and his love. This is the connection that binds us. That's the connection that cannot be broken. We yearn to be connected because we are made for love and we are made to live as God's children. This is our connection, and it will not be broken. Thank you for listening to this reflection. Just by way of announcement, I want to let you know that I'll be speaking again tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. On Friday, I will be speaking to you about Palm Sunday and how we might celebrate Palm Sunday this year, especially at home in the domestic church where we find ourselves. Mass on Palm Sunday morning will be at 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, as well as on YouTube available during the day. Throughout this weekend, please remember that the food van is in the parking lot. If anyone would like to drop off food, we're happy to take it, and it will be distributed. And I want to give a special thanks to John Cerruto and Hometown TV for their work in allowing us to broadcast the Masses and have them available on TV on Sunday morning and next week during Holy Week. And also thanks to Sean and Beth McCourt, who have worked hard to make sure that the Masses are produced and made available. So thank you, everyone, for listening. It's good to be with you. I look forward to speaking with you again in the next couple of days. And let's pray together as we look forward to a very beautiful, if homebound, celebration of Holy Week. God bless you.